Okay, so this is the piece that we had to cut off because it was in that L shape. We had to cut this piece off. This actually consists of three nodes. There's a node here, a node here, and a node here. These do not have leaves on them. This one does. Basically, you can use this as a wet stick. You can either plant this whole thing just as it is with the leaf and everything in soil, and eventually it will root up and go ahead and give you new growth. Basically, a lot of times with these wet sticks, they will give you new growth first, and then that new growth will grow roots off of it. So there's a lot of energy stored up in this wet stick. It will give you the new growth first, and then the roots will come from that new growth. The new growth will grow its own roots. So you'll see it have a new growth here, new growth off of this one, and new growth off of this one. So putting it in soil is the long way for it to root, but it eventually will root. A faster way for it to root is with water. However, it's also the riskiest because this can rot out in water. This can rot out really fast in water, actually. So if you wanted to do it in water, I would suggest cutting only one of these and testing it out in water and just leaving the rest of this in soil, or maybe one or two, testing them out in water. I'll show you an experiment that I'm doing right now so you can see the result of that. But putting this in soil is 100% foolproof, but putting it in water will give you faster roots, but it's a 50% chance that it would rot out if you put it in water. If you want to just use this as a wet stick, period, not with this leaf, because this leaf is actually pretty banged up. It's actually broken in half, and I kind of splinted it up with some tape and two chopsticks. You'll see when you get it. But so this leaf is pretty banged up, so you may not even want this leaf at all, but I just went ahead and kept the leaf on there. But if you do just want to use this as a wet stick, you can chop this leaf off altogether and do either water or soil, or you can leave the leaf on. It doesn't matter. It's not necessarily going to help with the rooting. You would think that that's going to capture a lot of sunlight or whatever and help with the rooting. Actually, just having this will get enough photosynthesis going to make Okay, so this is a tip for rooting your wet stick. We cut the edge off of the Monstera, and basically now you have a wet stick. You can keep the leaf on it and just plant it, or you can try to root it in water. Either way, that leaf is only going to last so much longer. It is broken in half, and I kind of splinted it up, but you can still root the wet stick and either plant it alongside or make a separate Monstera with it. But anyway, when it comes to rooting it by itself, this is just a tip for water rooting. When it comes to water rooting, you don't want to submerge the entire wet stick. If you put the entire wet stick in the water, it will rot. Not just for Monsteras, but for all aroids. When they mature to this chunky, woody state, they're no longer those little soft vines that you're used to seeing on Monsteras, on small Monsteras. Once they mature to this woody, hard, thick state, they do not like water. So you can get 100% success by putting it in soil, except it takes forever for them to root in soil. You can try to jumpstart that by rooting them in water, but you cannot submerge the entire thing in water. You basically want to submerge just the smallest amount, I would say less than halfway up the height of the wet stick. You want to go less than halfway with water. And then we use aerators, which they're really cheap. They're used to aerate the water in a fish tank. but you can put them here. You can actually use this for all the cuttings. We sent you a bunch of cuttings. So all of your cuttings, you can throw an aerator. You throw them in a cup of water and put this aerator in there, and it will generate a lot of oxygen and help the cuttings to root faster. But anyway, it's about a 50% success rate that we're finding with the wet sticks. But after a couple of weeks, this has only been like 2 weeks that we have put these in here. And I will show you some examples. This one has rotted. This first one has rotted. So that's a 50% in we're batting 0. And so this is one that has rooted after only a couple of weeks. There's a big, nice white root right there. Gosh, they're falling over each other. Okay, here is another one. And as you can see, it's actually rooted very well. This one has white roots. I don't know if you can, so it will focus, but there's white roots there, and there's white roots in the middle, and there's white roots at the bottom. So this one has done very, very, very well. This one, I believe this one has rotted. So this one didn't do well at all. And then that one I just put in there. So it's about a 50% chance that they will root. They will root in the first couple of weeks. If you don't see white roots coming in the first couple of weeks, pull it out and just put it in dirt and just wait months for it to root in dirt. Otherwise, if you leave it in here, it's just gonna rot out. Like this is, I need to cut this part off. This part's all squishy. Cut this part off, and possibly this one last node will root. Same with, what was the other one? This one right here. You see how it's all squishy? I can cut it back to the last node, and possibly that node will root, but most likely it won't. But yeah, so it's just a little tip. Get yourself an aerator. They're about $15 on Amazon. I'll put a link to the one that we use. This is a different extension, or whatever you want to call it. This one doesn't come with the original aerator. That one does. This one comes free with it. So anyways, you just want to keep some oxygen, keep it moving. You can't change the water. The water is disgusting and everything else like that, but it has rooting hormones in it. These cuttings, not just these cuttings, but all cuttings give off a rooting hormone, and you want to keep that water. You can top it off, add more water to it as it evaporates, but you don't want to change out this water. So it's going to be disgusting. So that's why you need to keep it on the back porch like we have it, because it's gross. But keep the water moving so mosquitoes don't lay eggs in it and stuff like that.